Stu's question is, hey, Beardsman, I've been struggling to find a work-life balance lately. What tips do you have for managing career ambitions while still being present for family and personal life?
That is a good question I'm trying to figure out.
Maybe that's part of the answer.
I think it's part of, yeah, for sure. I think it changes different seasons of life that you're in. I think you're in a building stage when you're younger, single, you don't have a lot of commitments to family where you can go all in on business. I think naturally as priorities change, like I'm entering into this life now with my now wife, with a baby coming where I want to have all the drive of the business, but also still want to be a very intentional and present husband first and father second. And it gets a lot harder to do. My one thing that I keep going back to is just being absolutely relentless with how you spend your time, right? Because we all have the same amount of time in the day, but if I'm trying to drive the business and be fully in what we're building here with Live Bearded, when I get home, I still want to be fully in with my wife and just be that much more intentional and present with my time. Because I think if you're intentional with your time, you can spend less amount of time to get more done, right? If you're not distracted in business, you put your head down for 60 or 90 minutes, you can accomplish 3 or 4 hours worth of work if you're having side conversations or distractions. And so for me, it's just, I've been trying to be intentional about how I'm spending my time and just being ruthless with the efficiencies.
Yeah.
For example, like a little thing that's helped with my my relationship with my wife is when I get home, 6:30, 6:45, we have dinner. The phone's down, do not disturb. I am 100% present at dinner for 60 minutes. We chat, we go deep, we go on a walk. So for about 90 minutes in the evening, we're just one-on-one time. And there's no thoughts of business. There's no thoughts of anything else. You can't reach me because my phone's literally just away. And I'm not looking at anything. I'm not checking emails. I'm not working on anything. Because when you try to do both, I feel like I've found that then you're losing on both sides. I'm not really fully present with my wife. I'm not really doing high quality work because it's half in, half out. And so a little trick that I've implemented that's had huge success for me is just carving out that time of intentionality and then not being distracted or trying to be in 2 places at once.
Yeah. I think all that's great advice. I've thought about this a lot, and I think I've come to the conclusion that's a little bit controversial, but I don't think balance exists. I think it's bullshit. And I don't know, if you have a scale that's balanced, it typically says 0. And I don't think anybody wants a life of zeros, right? Like, for me, exactly to what you said, it's about carving out or putting parameters around things that are must-haves and then being ruthless with the discipline to do that or to follow through. So I think, anybody who's accomplished anything great, they didn't have any, quote, balance. Everything was skewed in one way. So if you think of balance as like 100%, right, of like 100% over here, 100% over here, like equal weighted, right? I don't think anything will ever be equal weighted in our lives. Like, I think the areas that we want to improve the most on have to get disproportionate energy and attention.
And that could be your business. That could be your health and wellness. That could be your relationship, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be business or money or drive. Like it can,
Yeah.
but depending on what you're trying to optimize for, right?
Yeah, and I guess, you could still use the word balance if you want, because it's so, like that's the vernacular, that's the language that everybody uses. But like if you want to build a great career, you're probably going to have to spend 6, 8, 10, 12 hours a day building that skill set. Okay. So that is just automatically gone. That if you're, okay, we're going to sleep 6 hours a day, right? So now you got 18 hours left. Okay. You probably got 4 hours worth of miscellaneous bullshit in there from like eating, driving, doing different stuff, right? Yep. So that cuts you down to 14. And now, you got 14 hours, let's say, the average person, of allotted time. Okay. How do you want to invest that time? Do you want to, you're very intentional with investing, a few hours every night uninterrupted with your wife, and that helps build the foundation of your relationship. Amazing, right? I don't know that you could have the same, I don't think you could have, if you have 12 hours, 4 hours with your wife, 4 hours with your health and fitness, 4 hours with your job, and 4 hours over here, right? And that's conceptually, I think that's what people think about when they hear balance. That's how I think about it. Or I'm going to spend a third of my time here, a third of my time here, and a third of my time here.
Yeah, when you break it down like that, I do agree, because I think it's unrealistic to devote that many hours. And to me, when I think of balance, I don't think it has to be a 1-to-1 of 4 hours here, 4 hours there. But that's where the intentionality of how you're spending your time. An hour of focused or 90 minutes of focused, dedicated, deep connection could be way more value than 4 hours of just hanging out watching Netflix, right? And so being intentional with how you're spending your time, that gives you balance, but not 1-to-1 in terms of an hour exchange, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I think that's why I personally, the word balance doesn't work for me. I like to use the word integration, because I want to integrate my business life, with my personal life, with my other aspects, right? And so I want it to be integrated, and then I want to intentionally decide, okay, I'm going to allot X amount of hours to my career. I'm going to allot X amount of time to my health and fitness. I'm going to allocate X amount of time to my relationships. And so I think the only way we ever, quote, get balance in our life is by maybe approaching it more as integration, or saying balance for me is like 2 hours here in my health and fitness a day, 8 hours over here in my job every day, and then 4 hours here with my wife and my kids and whatever. Like, I think the only way you ever get to it, whether you want to call it balance or integration or whatever fucking language you want to call it, it's just being intentional, like you said, for during this time, I'm going to be present here and this is all I'm going to do. Yeah. And I think that's the only way to get it. And then each individual man has to sit down and determine where
are you investing your time? Because if you're saying yes to something, you're saying no to something else. And I will say, as I've gotten older, you have to be ruthless with how you're spending your time, because you can't fucking do it all. Not if you really want to be successful in these areas. And so, like, if you want to drive and build a business, like, you're going to have to commit 8, 10, 12 hours into that. But you don't want to lack in your relationship, so you have to find time for that. But that may mean you got to say no to going out to the bars on the weekends with your buddies. Yeah. Or you may need to say no to sleeping in on Saturdays and Sundays and getting up and having a productive day, right? Yeah. And so you will have to say no to certain things, but you have to step back and say, what am I really trying to build? And then balance your investment of time into accomplish those things that you're trying to
and get on, like, and communicate that, right? Like, I can't remember who said it, but I was listening to a video and it was an entrepreneur, and he was talking about with his wife, and he was like, look, babe,
dude,
this is what I'm fucking creating.
So true.
This is the life that we want to build. This is the life that we want.
This is what it's going to take.
And this is what it's going to take. And so that means I'm going to miss a lot of dinners. That means I'm going to be doing a lot of meetings. That means, like, for this next X period of time, like, it's going to be a lot less time together, because we're investing that today. We're sacrificing some time together for the payoff in the future. And so I think, again, it just comes down to you making the decision of what balance looks like to you, and redefining how you're going to spend your time, and then discipline and focus and being ruthless with it.
That was really good advice, guys.